Who am I beyond names and roles? But I assign myself who is standing behind me. After all these nomenclature and self, accept them as me for the rest of my life. We are surrounded by labels, and the story from birth you were, assign a name, a role and the identity of those things seems to be destined. Your human image, but do they have? Is it really your nature or not? Just the table covers that have been put on. Imagine you're in front of a mirror. What you see is a muscular face, and all signs of physical dynia. You in this world, but if you look deeper you can see the essence. Are you really this body or something else that is hidden by the side? Imagine an ocean now, screaming on the surface of the water. The waves rushing, each seemingly separate waves are shaped and its own cycle, but if you look deeper, you will see that each wave does not separate. Leave the ocean, it is part of zero, lacking but also not all. The set of waves is a temporary manifestation, but its essence is that water is the great infinite yang. You are like that wave. All you think you are the body. Memories, emotions, identities are just things. Transient appearance on the surface, but you are not these waves. You is the ocean. If you're not your body, not past memories, it must be the identity you claim to be. You. What is the answer? Not in these what you can pass or determine. That is, it is in the very existence of nothingness, a thing that you have always been, but never really realized. Forget all the things you used to do. Believe in yourself. Your role, your successes or failures that you think define be all of them are the stories in this video. We will peel off each layer of illusion that has been covered. Hide our friend's true self. We'll explore the self, perception, and truth that you have never been born and also never die. But first, ask the biggest question: if I'm not, is one's body, memory, or identity? So I am. What, dear friend, when you think of yourself, the first thing that comes to mind is, can be personal stories as the name. What you are, what have you done, what have you gone through, what all of this constitutes what you call yourself. But have you ever wondered who is the storyteller? This is the ego is not an entity, matter. It has no shape or size, ruler. Instead, it is the center of each story you tell yourself about, is the concept that you use to define me. But is the self really? Is it being, or is it just a semi-illusion? The self is formed from emotional thoughts, and the memory is like a bag of nothingness. The picture that you bring with you is filled with belief in yourself from a young age. You start building this bag. One, a compliment from parents, a criticism from teacher, a pleasant or painful experience, sad, all collected and saved by you, kept in a bag named I. Over time you begin to identify with that bag. You think, I am, is the good guy, or am I a failure? Am I a funny person, or am I a person shy? But stop and reflect. Are these thoughts and memories real? The fact that you are not, they come to leave. Instead, change through each stage of life. If they change how they can determine, meaning who you are. Try looking at a wallet. Practical example. Suppose you have a failure big in your work desk. Your fall right immediately jumped in and whispered that I was the one failing, I wasn't good enough. Thoughts. These are not just words in the head. They carry with them emotions and sadness, shame and even anger. This emotion begins to drive the action of. You can retreat, stay away from the muscles. New society because of fear, but watch carefully. Then those thoughts are not really, they are just a way that the ego reaction to protect itself, to maintain the story it has made about you. If you believe in that story, you will be trapped, stuck in a loop of semi-suffering. The ego doesn't just limit you to the negative thinking, it is also the source of lust and comparing. It says, I will happy if I get this, or I need to be better than others to feel valuable. But you never realized that even if you achieve what you want, you to fall back and quickly switch to another goal. It never satisfies. It is like a bottomless well, always needs to be filled but not full. Hours. Imagine you're watching the movie, you are completely caught up in the sentence, the story of feeling happy when the protagonist successes, sad when they fail, but then you realize it's just a movie. The unreal character is just a figure. The image on the falling screen is the same as the main character in a movie. Band to generate initial emotional investment, time and energy to protect it. But when you look closely, and you'll see that it's just the story of a set of thoughts and ephemeral emotion. The biggest question in here's what happens if you give up. The ego is not that you will lose your mind, self-awareness, or becoming a person anonymous. Instead, you will realize that you are not the story you are. Tell you is the perception in that story. Emergence and dissolution of the ego is only one conception of a temporary structure that we identify with ourselves, but your true nature is beyond. On top of all that, it doesn't suffer from, bound by thoughts, emotions or memories. So who would you be without the self? This thought can be confusing at times, but it is also the door to the true freedom when no longer bound. Because of the ego you don't need to protect or prove your worth, no longer controlled by fear or ambition. Instead you experience life to the fullest as it is, inherently without a veil of illusion. To fill in a moment of silence, looking back on my whole life from the day you give birth to the first memories of these success failures until the second. At this moment, everything seems to be destined. Image by line, running time one line, from the start point to the end point. But what if all these, what do you think about the end stories about born and dying is just an illusion of mind? Think you were never born. Sounds paradoxical, but this is not, must be a practical acknowledgement of the world around you instead. That's the way to look deeper beyond surface of common perception to discover a timeless truth. Addition. Your real substance has no beginning, no end. Prompt you to start by understanding the essence of time. Time, like us, the experience seems to be a series of past events, present, future. Them. We put ourselves in a stream of belief that there is a starting point when we are born, and an end point when we die. But does time really exist or it's just a way that the human mind arranges the experiences to create the true nature of? You are not in the time it is. Cognition is the immutable space where every experience comes and goes away. Like the sky above, even though it is sunny and rainy, or thunderstorms, the sky is always wide and not be affected by what happens. The dark clouds left, but the sky was still. The Yuan dynasty did not change the main table. That sky still has emotional thoughts. And events in life are just like transient clouds. They appear variable, change, then dissipate, but the nature is immutable. Your vast awareness is always present. You were not born with their roles or stories, and nor do they disappear when they end. What you really do is always go above and beyond. Above all that, meditate about this. If you don't have a start, then does the fear of the end still mean? What does it mean that we are afraid of death because we believe that is the final point, the end of the ego? But when you realizing that the ego is just a sentence story and you are the perception in the sentence that happened, the fear disappeared. The story of Gia Allen Watch once said that you really never start and never ending it, like the great where each wave has appeared, disappears, but the water is still with you forever. Is water not waves? To clarify, try to imagine a dream. In dreams you can experience full life from birth to adulthood until death, but when you wake up, you realize that it's all just one shirt. No one was actually born or died in that dream. It was just the fleeting manifestations in your mind. Life is the same. When you look into your true nature, you'll see that everything you think is me are just manifestations of cognition. This awareness is not born with and also does not dissolve when the body lose. Let's put aside all our beliefs about who you are, where do you come from, and where to go. Instead wonder, if I don't have a beginning, so why would I? Are you afraid of the end of this question? Just a brain game. It swings door to self, because when you are no longer bound by Italy thinking about the time, you will find that all the moment is the expression of the eternal substance you no longer need. Race to achieve something or hide, avoid anything else. You simply, right now in this moment. It's true that you were never born is not a blessing to life. On the contrary, it is an affirmation that you are not limited by sentences. The story you tell yourself, it liberates you from the fear and suffering that allows you live as fully as you are. Immense eternal awareness, unbound, bound by time or space. You are something infinite, is not tied down, not born and never dies. Think DNG. You are standing in the middle of the room is full of mirrors. Mirror a different image. You are the father, the mother, the successful, failure, humor or shyness, cowardly. But in all the images, is there any image that is really good for you? They are only temporary reflections, depending on the perspective of the mirror here. It is the way the ego operates. It creates countless pictures of the version and convincing version that one of them is the true nature. But the ego is not you. It's just a set of sentences that you unknowingly trusted. The self has the power of its own beliefs. We get into it from a young age. You are teaching to create a story about your body is the child of whose you are hungry for, what you have to achieve to be recognized. Get this story by time date. The more complicated every experience is, the more complicated it is. Think every emotion is added. Reinforce what you call I. But what will happen when the sentence, "this is challenged," you can feel hurt and fear or gradually hold on to this, is how you protect yourself with how to make you believe you can't exists without it. When you question who is feeling this feeling you're coming back to, awareness goes beyond the story that being self-telling. Try as soon as an emotion strongly appears as anger or sadness, stop and ask yourself, emotions, where is it going on? Who does it belong to? No, you will notice that emotions doesn't really belong to you. It's just a transient phenomena in perception of you. Self-esteem is an illusion, and this illusion disappears as soon as you look straight into it, like you're standing in front of an open mirror of your original. Only see distorted reflections, messy, and thought it was the main. But when you wipe your surface clean, you realize that it's all just a reflection. Not the reality of the self is the same. Like dust on a mirror that covers open awareness. When you realize your true nature, this layer of dust dissolves, leaving in climb and light clearly. So true freedom does not lie in possession, that is in the place of letting go. When you clinging to the self you are bound to by desires, fears, and thirst. Desire to protect their ego. But when you let go, you will find that life, no ego is needed to operate the breed. Like a river flowing naturally without the need for one hand controls you as well as the line. River that your life takes place. The natural way does not need a center. The controlling ego, as Rumi once told you, not a drop in the ocean. Yang is the whole ocean in one drop. This does not mean that you have to renounce one's personality or responsibilities. Rather, you realize that the true nature is infinite and unfettered by the stories of being falling. When you go back to the perception you no longer have, controlled by the stories that the ego tells you, to start living in freedom. No need to protect or prove the price. Instead of clinging to the what do you think, you live as you are. You, and this freedom is not the thing, something you need to look for. That is the essence. Your presence is always on its own. Because when you live without ego, your actions are no longer imposed by thinking like you will be. What will someone else think from this, or what others will think about ourselves, instead of being motivated by greed, want, or fear. Your actions, from the nature of your situation, no longer feel the need to prove value or comparison with others. Think about how a bird builds. Curious, shouldn't it be a detailed plan? Wondering if my element is more beautiful than the element of another bird or not. It just does what needs to be done naturally and fully. Humans are also capable of living as, so it is completely present in each. The moment is not strangely swayed by these. The story in there is a common misconception that without the ego we would be incapable. Decision-making skills or emotions will become meaningless, but the reality is the opposite. Again, when there are no decisions given more naturally than not, obscured by fear or bias. Fish, by the way. Imagine you are in front of a fork in the road trying to decide the direction. If you fall into control, you will be worried about the consequences if you choose the wrong one. Why? What people will think. But when you don't have bound by the self, you simply choose the most suitable direction is based on what you know at that point. The decision to become into a part of the flow that is not needed to struggle or doubt emotions. The same when there is no emotional ego still appearing. You still feel happy, sad, angry, or loving, but you no longer identify with those. That emotion they no longer define. Maps that are only approved are the statue and walk like waves on the surface of the lake. You feel them in a way, complete but not swept away. To live without a self is not give up life or become a person. Namelessness is to live with the natural lightness and true freedom. That is to receive out that you're not the story you tell yourself, but the space where every story happens and when you live. So you are no longer bound by the Europeans or pressures you to get along with the natural flow of life, such as the very nature that you have always is that you are absorbing a flower. When the self dominates, you don't really see flower, you only see your opinion about it. This flower is beautiful, but I have seen another flower is more beautiful, or this flower reminds me of a sad memory. But when you let go of the ego, you see flower in its integrity. No judgment, no comparison, no are still trapped in their stories, and so you experience a flower the full way. This also applies to the relationship, your system with people. When B falls and control, you no longer look at people different through the lens of expectations or a judge. You no longer need them play a role to confirm the value. Instead, you actually show. They listen to them and feel the deep connection. When the self disappears, the boundary between me and others also dissolve. You start realizing that we are all one, part of the same whole. You no longer seeing others as individuals, separate but like other manifestations of the same origin of a flame, lowered from many other candles. Even though each candle has the shape of a size and color but magnetic light, the flames are all the same without distinction. The true nature of being is also the same. Must be the candle that is the light. When you liberating from the ego, you realize that I and everyone around me are one, part of the same different light, in form but identical in the nature of this awareness does not diminish the value of your personal counterpart. It does, deepening the appreciation for the close to and with everyone you no longer need, must protect or separate yourself. You understand that you are part of a connection, and this connection cannot be break. Try close your eyes and feel the rhythm. Breathe when you're not trying to. Any story is simply feel the breath coming in and out of you. Realize that you don't need to do anything. What to be yourself you don't need. Must be perfect without having to try. Your existence has been a miracle. Wonder after your journey of deep discovery. Might wonder if I wasn't. What is the ego to color the S? The answer is no. Lies in adding to anything that is. A place to let go of everything that does not belong. About you, identities, emotional memories that you used to assign yourself only classes, shells. They can come and go, but you know your infinite awareness. Looking back on this journey of ours from the realization of the fall patient is an illusion to understanding that you were never born out and never die. You ever step to remove the layers of criticism to see true nature. You don't. It has to be what you think it is, also not. Must be the stories that you tell yourself. Is a quiet space in every experience, appearance and dissolution. You don't. Must be the wave. You are the infinite ocean. Most of us believe that enlightenment is something in front of a state. We have to achieve the. It's true that you don't need to search for awareness. Your true nature has always been here. Right now this awareness is something you can achieve because you haven't. Never lose it. The only thing you need to do is to realize that you have always been. This freedom is not a state of tie you need to look for, which is a fact. That you realize you've always been yourself. An unaltered perception that is not photographed. Enjoy the waves of life. When you realize this, everything changes. Change is not the outside world change. The way you see the world changes. You are no longer afraid of the fluctuations, are no longer caught up in these fleeting emotions or thoughts that pass you. So it is light, natural and in harmony with the flow of life. Let's keep it clear. This message closes their journey. You don't have to do anything to become. Be yourself. Let go of all illusions. Carry all the burdens you have carried. Freedom is not what you need to achieve. Well, that's what you've always been. If you feel this journey is meaningful, give philosophy a like. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell too. Don't miss any content. Share this video to your friends that they are also looking for the truth, because there is. This is the door they need. Thank you. You have accompanied philosophy. Wish you with a lot of health with the family.